That was the message we had on screen. Trump is after Maduro's oil. And why is this situation happening? The tension is increasing between both countries, between the United States and Venezuela. Tension is rising in the Caribbean as Donald Trump's latest statements are aimed directly at the oil tankers in these Caribbean waters. The thing is, Trump gave the order, a total and complete blockade of these sanctioned oil tankers that arrive in and leave Venezuela. A measure he announced in a Truth Social post, intensifying his rhetoric against Maduro. Well, let's read what it says. Venezuela is completely surrounded by the largest navy ever assembled in history of South America. It will only grow, and the shock for them will be like never before. They have never seen it before until they return to the United States all the oil, land, and other assets they previously stole from us. Maduro's illegitimate and oppressive regime is actively using the vast oil resources from these illegally seized fields to illicitly fund its operations. Do you see? This involves a deeply disturbing pattern of drug terrorism, extensive human trafficking, brutal murder, and widespread kidnapping. We continue with these messages from Trump where he says, I order a total and complete blockade of all authorized oil tankers entering and leaving Venezuela. The illegal and criminal immigrants that Maduro's regime has sent to the United States during Biden's weak and inept administration are being sent back to Venezuela at an accelerated pace. The United States will not allow criminals, terrorists, or other countries to steal from, threaten, or harm our nation, nor will it allow a hostile regime to seize our oil, land, or any other asset, all of which must be returned to the United States. Immediately, President Donald Trump's message on Truth Social, a rather lengthy message where he makes his intentions against Maduro very clear. Maduro, who, of course, has rejected this blockade of sanctioned oil tankers, he says this is a serious threat. Maduro unequivocally calls it a profound threat, and the government in Caracas firmly claims that the United States is indeed violating established international law, the principles of free trade, and the fundamental freedom of navigation, and that this constitutes a truly reckless and profoundly serious threat against the sovereign nation of Venezuela. What is Venezuela's response to these blockades? Maduro has called for a massive global protest. Let's listen to him.
So the oil workers and all the workers in the country must mobilize with great strength to organize the forces of the working class in every port around the world, throughout the international working class, to protest against the piracy of those who think they have a license to steal the world's goods. And to say no to piracy, no to piracy. To say it completely and fully, with truly great clarity and with truly great strength, that's absolutely right, to simply say it. And to join forces and raise awareness. When we talk about the process, we are talking about one step building upon another. Maybe today only a few people hear us, maybe just one, but tomorrow it will be 2, then 3, then 4, and very soon, as Tupac Katari said, we will be millions in this world saying to imperialism, no to piracy, no to the plundering of oil.
Maduro's statements calling for a massive global protest against what he considers the United States is doing, plundering their oil. But please, let's highlight the cap Maduro is wearing, which says, no. War, just peace, or no war, just peace, as he popularized and made viral through statements in which he was precisely asking the United States not to go to war and calling for peace. Of course, in the Caribbean Sea. Well, everything has turned into marketing for Maduro, definitely, in these statements where he believes that the United States wants to seize their wealth, and that this would be President Donald Trump's true intention behind these blockades of oil tankers. And regarding this order we just reviewed, where Trump calls for a total blockade of sanctioned oil tankers arriving in and departing from Venezuela. And these 18 massive oil tankers, currently under Washington's stringent sanctions, fully loaded with crude oil, are now in Venezuelan territorial waters and are being closely monitored by the United States government. 8 of these vessels are specifically classified as very large cargo ships, quite similar in their substantial size and operational capacity to the Skipper, a significant vessel which was recently seized by authorities in Washington just last week. And this precise scenario is exactly what is currently unfolding and happening in the expansive Caribbean Sea. The 18 large oil tankers are currently under strict international sanctions and are being closely monitored by the United States authorities in the territorial waters of Venezuela. And meanwhile, the United States is not just talking about pressure by sea, right? It is also renewing its warning for airlines operating in Venezuelan airspace. The U.S. Federal Aviation Administration urged aircraft to exercise caution in Venezuelan skies due to the worsening security situation and increased military activity. It's the same wording they used in a previous warning from last November 22nd. A week later, Trump himself stated that Venezuelan airspace should be considered completely closed. And this is a new warning that will remain in effect until February 19, 2026. This significant incident happened after a JetBlue Airways airline pilot reported that his commercial aircraft nearly collided with a large U.S. Air Force tanker aircraft near the airspace of Venezuela. This is how tensions are rising in the Caribbean, but also in the air. In fact, Venezuelan airspace should be considered completely closed, according to Donald Trump. And to continue talking about the situation in Venezuela, we have to mention one of Maduro's longtime allies. And on many occasions, we've even called him Maduro's personal lawyer. Many people know he's a close friend, a very close friend, and also his neighbor. Gustavo Petro, who made new statements in which it's not entirely clear whether he's defending Maduro or not. He's confronting him. The truth is, this is the first time he has publicly acknowledged that Nicolas Maduro is a dictator. It's interesting because Petro was responding to a tweet from journalist Patricia Janio, where she asked him how is it that you call the new Chilean president a Nazi, making all these political references, yet you're incapable of calling Maduro by his name as a dictator? And Petro responded as follows. Let's put it up on the screen so we can understand what his message was. And this is the first time that Petro acknowledges Maduro as a dictator. Maduro is a dictator because he concentrates power. There's no evidence in Colombia that he is a narco. That's a narrative from the United States. Cast is the son of and a believer in the Nazis. He belongs to the German generation that escaped from Germany. No, not to escape from Hitler, but to escape from Hitler's defeat, which is very, very different. This is how Gustavo Petro wrote on the social network X, as he usually does. And we reiterate, he was responding to the journalist who asked him, why do you have no qualms about calling Jose Antonio Cast a Nazi and a fascist? And you don't acknowledge Maduro as a narco-dictator. What he says is, he's a dictator, but I have no proof that he's a narco. Petro's response, which... Well, the truth is that for the first time, he refers to his friend and ally Nicolas Maduro in this way.